You're listening to the Fast Intentions podcast. Now here are your hosts, Nathan and Todd.
Welcome to Fast Intentions. We hope you all had a great Thanksgiving, enjoyed it with your family and friends, and just hoping that it went well for you. And I'm sitting here with my favorite side dish, my son, Nathan. How you doing, Nathan?
That's kind of creepy. my favorite side dish.
I just thought it was apropos for the day.
Well,
Did you have a nice Thanksgiving?
yeah, it was good. Well, you can kind of call me stuffing because I'm a big boy.
I wouldn't call you stuffing, but you can.
Or dressing. Some people call it dressing. So there you go. No, I had a good Thanksgiving.
Nice.
We usually don't do a whole lot. We go to grandma's. My family's not the most excited, but we're over there for 4 hours. That's usually pretty good for us. Usually about 2 hours, grandma's trying to, all right, good to see you. Yeah, get us out of there.
Did you play games and all that?
We did play one game. We played, it's like you have to draw real quick and you have to guess who had what.
Oh, okay.
And so that was kind of interesting. And it was like an easy enough that we all understood it. But it was like speed, so you have to do it fast. And if you get it fastest, you get more points than others. But then Rachel took 15 years to guess. She was thinking, oh, this is supposed to be like a speed guessing game, you know? But she just got last on all of them. And then I watched the Packers beat the Lions, so it was a pretty good day.
Oh.
Because I didn't expect that. So
I don't think many people did.
I know. Hey, we got a chance to make the playoffs.
I know. Who would have thought that weeks ago?
The last of the NFC is garbage.
Yeah.
Especially the way the Vikings looked last night.
Yeah.
Because we are recording on Tuesday, November 28th, for when this comes up on December 1st.
And in case you're wondering, the Fast Intentions monitors are not on this evening. So
yeah, I could turn the Celtics game on, but I didn't do
right.
it. It would distract me.
Well, I'm glad you had a good holiday. I did as well. I went over to Barb's and we had dinner with her aunt and her mom, and then her oldest son came over with his fiance, and then their 7-year-old daughter showed up. So just the seven of us, small intimate affair, but it was good. And sometimes when you have less people, it's actually nicer because you can actually have a conversation with people. You know, sometimes when you get in a big group, it's hard to have a consistent conversation with one person or another because you're talking to so many people. But it was nice. Tony, her son, brought the turkey, and he's an avid hunter, so he's pretty good at cooking and making the food. He lifted the skin and put butter underneath the skin, and he brined it and stuff. So it was real good. I made some scalloped corn and the sweet potatoes, and then Barb had a couple dishes, and then we had the Hawaiian rolls. So it was a couple pies for dessert. So it was all in all, it was a good day. Good day. So enjoyed that. So. And of course, you can't beat football. So
we have plenty of football to talk about.
Yeah, let's delve into that. Couple of headlines: the Carolina Panthers fired Frank Reich, their coach, 11 games into the season, and some people around here are saying, "Well, see, that justifies Matt Rhule, and what he went through. That it's not about him. It's the owners and the personnel that what they're trying to do. They don't know what they want to do, and they're just really kind of wishy-washy when it comes to, hiring and firing. So,
yeah. Well, especially because you can't – who else are they really going to blame? They can't blame Bryce Young. He's the number one pick. And you look at that trade package they gave away now. That's a lot for Bryce Young, especially because now C.J. Stroud looks so damn good his rookie year. So, I mean, if that ends up kind of staying the same – well, if it goes the same path, that's going to be an all-time bad deal. But, I mean, Bryce Young has so much talent. He's so young, you can't really judge him. And to be honest, how much does the Panthers really have besides, Adam Thielen? He's throwing to Jonathan Mingo. No offense to Jonathan Mingo, but,
Well, they tear the cornerstone to, get pieces to rebuild, and that's what they're doing. So, but it's they're a way off. Incidentally, their one win was against C.J. Stroud and the Houston Texans.
Yeah, which is kind of weird, but that's before you kind of – who did they play where you had that 5-touchdown, 400-yard game?
C.J. Stroud?
Yeah. That was the big kind of I'm here moment. I can't even think who it was. It was only a few weeks
Cardinals?
ago. I don't think it was the Cardinals because it was like a shootout. So, but that was kind of his big moment.
Jaguars?
They just lost to the Jaguars.
Yeah. Well,
but aren't they in the same division?
Yeah.
So that could have been. I'm not sure, but anyways, it's still too early to kind of make any judgments, but it was the Bengals game.
Oh, okay.
No, I think the Bengals game was the week after. I can't think who it was. It was the Buccaneers game. He played the Bucs, 39-37. That's what it was.
Okay.
The Bengals game is the one that was he threw that big pick, and then We're like, what the hell are you throwing that? And then the Bengals went down, and then they ended up losing anyways. So, but yeah, it's still too early. But it is hard. There was kind of some expectations. Well, that division's so bad. Bryce Young's a rookie. He can come in, they maybe do some stuff. I even picked him to win the division. Which, to be honest, looking at the division now, it's still god awful. So, I mean, I don't feel as bad about that pick, but the Panthers have been a lot worse than what we thought. So
yeah, well, like you were saying though, you can't really fire the quarterback,
especially.
And so if you want to make some kind of change and kind of uproot things, you got to fire the head coach, and he won't be the only one fired, and it'll be the first of many, I'm sure, this offseason.
Well, especially if the owner decides, the general manager probably not it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, before we get much farther, this is episode 32 here at Fast Intentions, and so you know what that means, Nathan?
We got to figure out who the episode's named after.
Yeah, who we're going to honor this episode. Now, episode 32 is a tough one because I can think of a lot of number 32s in a lot of sports growing up that were
I'm bad.
pretty well known and what have you. So,
I'm bad with numbers. I can't do that.
Okay. Well, I've got a list of the top 15, what I think is the top 15. So I'll read them off here, Nathan, and you can have your input on yay, nay, or maybe.
Okay. I haven't seen any of these, so.
Okay. First one is Bill Walton.
Bill Walton, he deserves some consideration.
Famous UCLA center.
Played for Portland. I think he won MVP there, too.
Yeah, played for the Celtics for a couple years.
Yeah.
Number 2 is Shaq.
Is that with Miami?
Orlando. Early Shaq.
So do we think of Shaq or do we just think of Orlando Shaq?
We probably think of Orlando Shaq because I don't think he was 32.
He was 34 with the Lakers, I
Yes.
think. And he was like 36 with the Celtics and like 33 with the Suns. He was a lot of 30-somethings.
Yeah.
So, because he kind of bounced around after a while just trying to win a title.
Okay.
So, I think if we're going Orlando Shaq only, well, shoot. I mean, he's probably still better than Bill Walton. But Bill Walton's pretty good.
Well, Bill Walton won a lot of titles.
So, we'll go with Bill Walton, I guess.
All right. Jim Brown.
All right. Well, Jim Brown beats both of them.
Okay.
So, we don't got to worry about that.
All right. Magic Johnson.
Oh, Magic Johnson. He may beat
two of the
Jim
top,
Brown.
Jim Brown and Magic, two of the top guys all time in their sports.
Yeah, Magic Johnson, arguably best point guard of all
right.
time.
Well, let's hold on those. ABA Dr. J, Julius Erving. When he played with the Nets in the ABA, he was number 32. But when he was with the Sixers, when the NBA came along, he was number 6.
I didn't know what number he was.
Yeah.
But he's not better than Magic Johnson, no offense to Dr. J.
Okay.
One of the originals.
All right. Sandy Koufax.
Sandy Koufax has got to be on there.
Okay.
At this point, you kind of just got to pick the sport.
Yeah. Somebody kind of near and dear to me, the mailman, Karl Malone.
Well, because you're a mailman. I was wondering.
Good.
If you don't know about Karl Malone and his personal life and his issues, we're not a big Karl Malone fan.
Yeah.
If you know anything about that, we're just not going to mention him.
He's a trucker also. He's big fleet of trucks. Lefty Steve Carlton. Pitch for the Phillies, namely.
But like above Sandy Koufax?
Probably not.
Probably not.
All right. Well, based on your Karl Malone take, I'm guessing this next one you're going to want to skip, and that's O.J. Simpson.
Yeah, I probably shouldn't go with O.J. Simpson.
First rusher to hit
Well,
2,000 yards in a season.
Well, technically, he's innocent.
Well,
Yeah, that's
true.
kind of.
That's true.
Yeah.
San Diego, Dave Winfield.
Not above Sandy Koufax.
All right. Because I think he was 31 with the Yankees when he went to the Yankees.
Didn't we have Dave Winfield on the last one?
Maybe.
I think we did.
So he's.
I think I mentioned
he's
him
a
on
repeat
31.
offender.
Yes.
You might have some input on this one. Kevin McHale
Kevin McHale. I like Kevin McHale.
made a cameo appearance on Cheers, counting the bolts in the floor. It's a pretty funny episode.
I never watched Cheers really like that. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But yes, Boston Celtics legend, but not above Magic Johnson.
All right.
So I think we can knock him out of there.
Marcus Allen.
Marcus Allen.
For the Raiders and the Chiefs.
I think he could deserve some consideration. But would you put him in a conversation with Jim Brown? No.
Probably not.
Yeah. But these are good players, but not as good as the other ones.
All right. If I said immaculate reception.
Franco Harris.
Yeah. Just passed away a few months ago, too.
He did. If we're talking about best plays of all time, he'd be number one probably.
He is a Hall of Famer. Yeah, it was voted. They did a big thing last year, and
with the 100th season.
Yeah, it was the number one play in the history of NFL.
Because I think that's when we were looking at we were going to the high school games. Remember?
Mm-hmm.
And I think I was at one of them looking at the list because it was like that Tom Brady pass to like Julian Edelman, like the Super Bowl, that little like out route, and you go, why the hell is this on here?
Yeah.
Just because it's hard to rank like the actual play and then like the situation. It's kind of like the magnitude of it. How do you balance those?
Well, if something's called immaculate, it's got to be like considered one of the top plays. Just
Well, that's
because
the original immaculate too.
Yes.
So then they have like the immaculate extension. That's like a play on.
That was Antonio Brown against the Ravens on Christmas Day.
Yeah. So I mean, it's the basis of it.
Yep.
So
All right. Jonathan Quick,
is
goalie for the LA Kings for many, many years.
See, I'm not. My history of hockey is not that good, so I mean, I wouldn't consider him. But if maybe there was some hockey geeks out there to be like Jonathan Quick,
he was probably one of the top 2 or 3 goalies in the league for about 5, 6, 7 years.
The name sounds familiar.
Yeah.
So, but I'd cross him off.
All right. Then my last one I threw in here is Jamal Anderson.
Jamal Anderson.
He's a running back for the Atlanta Falcons. And do you remember what he was famous for?
No.
He came up with the dance called the Dirty Bird.
Oh, I know.
When he'd score, he'd do the Dirty Bird dance.
I do know the Dirty Bird dance because what the owner did it too that one time. It was really nasty looking.
So out of those, what do you think?
So can you read them again?
Bill Walton.
I feel like get Bill Walton out of there. Not with Magic Johnson.
All right. Orlando Shack.
Jim
Brown. Magic Johnson. ABA Dr. J. Sandy Koufax.
It's Jim Brown, it's Magic Johnson, and it's Sandy Koufax. Those are my 3.
Okay.
Would you agree?
Yeah, they're pretty all-time greats in each of the sports.
What do you think anyone else deserves consideration? Because I think Magic Johnson's the best NBA player on there.
Well,
if we're talking
statistically, maybe a couple, but if you're factoring in what they did outside of football, maybe not. But
yeah,
you can consider some of these. But like you said, I think these 3 guys are the top in their sports compared to the other people that we're considering.
Yes.
So to me, I would say Jim Brown's probably the number 1 guy out of all these.
See, but I never really watched Jim Brown like.
Well, he had a great career. He had some knee issues, and then he became an actor.
Yeah,
so,
and he just passed away too.
Yeah,
like a year ago.
So
I'm okay with Jim Brown.
Okay, we'll go with Jim Brown.
Sounds good.
All right, props to Jim Brown.
Well, I always liked that the NFL honors. Every time they make a Browns joke, they always film Jim Brown because they always had to see his reaction. And he usually had that stoic face, like I won't mess with you. Sorry.
Well, I like Larry the Cable Guy would always say, talking about having to use the restroom. He says, "I'm taking the Browns to the Super Bowl." So
that's about as close as I ever get.
Now, last episode we talked about Texas A&M firing Jimbo Fisher and this huge buyout he got. Well, they've made their choice, and they brought back former defensive coordinator, who was currently the Duke coach, Mike Elko. Now, Mike was 16-9 with Duke, and he got him a top 20 finish this past year. And so A&M decided to stay in-house and bring back one of their own. And he's done a good job at Duke. You know, Duke's not known as a football school, but they've they were on national TV earlier this year playing Notre Dame, and unfortunately their quarterback got hurt during the game. But I think it's a good hire. I don't have the details of what his contract is. I'm sure it's not nearly what they paid Jimbo Fisher. But, it's nice for Mike because he knows where he's going. He's familiar with the people who run the show and what he's getting into. So we hope that'll go well for him.
Yeah, freaking they'll probably paying Jimbo Fisher more than him.
Yeah, they'll be paying Jimbo Fisher for a long time. Now, I did want to talk a little bit about the Michigan-Ohio State game. You know, Michigan knocked off Ohio State for the 3rd straight year. So props to the Maize and Blue. But there was a particular play in the game. Well, J.J. McCarthy threw a dime. He threw it like between 2 Ohio State defenders to number 7. I cannot remember his name. But he caught the ball, and he had 2 hands on it, and he went down to a knee in the end zone. And then as he rolled over, the Ohio State guy was still reaching in, popped the ball free, and the Ohio State guy ended up with it. And I thought, well, that's a touchdown. No big deal. Well, then Joe Klatt, who's the color analyst, former quarterback at Colorado, does a really good job. I enjoy Joe. But he was going on, well, I don't know. They're going to take a look at that. And I go, what are you talking about? I said, it seemed like a touch. So I watched the replay, and I go, that's a touchdown. 2 hands on the ball, secured, knee down, touchdown. Because, a knee equals 2 feet or an elbow equals 2 feet, whatever. And then, considered the play was dead, touchdown. It didn't matter what happened after he rolled over and the Ohio State guy ended up with it. But they went on and on about it, and they went to commercial, and they came back, and then they were reviewing it. I go, this is such a stupid waste of time. I said, it's an easy call, touchdown. And so then they reviewed it, and the guy called touchdown. And so they go to another commercial, come back, and then the Ohio State coach, his name's Day. He's escaping me. I think it's Day, but he was going on the sidelines, ripping the refs left and right, and yelling. I go, that was like an easy call for a touchdown. I don't know what the hell he was all upset about. And so I don't know if I just missed something or I'm overlooking something, but I thought touchdown, no problem. I thought they spent way too much time looking at this one play.
Yeah.
But they just went on and on and on it. And I just like, he had the ball, 2 hands on it, and his knee was down in the end zone. That's a touchdown as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I don't know. I didn't watch it. So,
yeah.
The only bad thing is I'm working Saturdays again. So, college football is kind of out of my realm. Yeah. But good thing it's.
Well, it just stinks because you don't. I mean, what's a touchdown anymore? I mean,
yeah.
I know people talk about it in the pros, but I mean, now even college. I mean, college you only have to have 1 foot down. I mean, so if your knee's down, and to me, that's a good catch, especially if you got control of the ball with both hands.
Yeah.
So I thought it was an easy call, but they just reviewed it, and Joe Klatt went on about it, and then Ryan Day was all pissed. I'm just like, I don't get it. So.
Well, they're usually pretty biased for their own teams, anyways.
Well, that's true.
But yeah, I don't know. Well, we'll talk about Nebraska in a sec because I thought Nebraska had some weird decisions at the end.
Same old bugaboos jumped up for them.
Well, it's been that way for the last 6 years.
Yeah. Do you want to delve into that a little bit?
Sure. I will say I didn't watch the game. Okay. I kind of meant to go back and rewatch it, but it kind of just eluded me to do it. I probably will eventually, but I was kind of watching it as much as I could, checking it out. But then again, watching it wasn't too exciting. I did say 13-10, didn't I? Nebraska over Iowa.
I had that in my notes. You mentioned that you had the score of 13-10, but you picked Nebraska.
Well, it could have been Nebraska. Jim Purdy saw that.
Nebraska, yeah.
They saw that damn linebacker just sitting there.
Ridiculous. I just posted online. I said I don't know what to say. I'm a loss for words. But I was the same way. You know, I have YouTube TV and I have the app, so I was trying to watch it. I was working also. But you get in some place you just can't have it on real loud, so you try to have it on like just, muted. But then while you're working, you can't really just constantly watch it. So then I would look away. And then every time I pause it to do something, so then I'd be behind. But somehow, I saw Nebraska's first touchdown. I thought, oh, they're up 7-0. And then next thing I know, it was like 10-7. I go, where did Iowa score 10 points? Well, apparently they were up 10-0 before Nebraska scored, but I didn't recognize that. And so I was like lost. But just your initial thoughts on the game and, anything that stood out to you? I mean, you mentioned the play calling and the turnovers.
The only thing that confused me is when Nebraska was driving at the end of the game, they had like 2 timeouts. And then there was like that – it was like an out, and then he almost got the first down. I think it was like a 1st and 10. And he was out like maybe like 2nd and 1 or something. And Matt Rhule challenged like the spot of the ball. And I go, why the hell is he like challenging like this 3 yards when it's still like 3rd down or 2nd down? And then of course he doesn't win it, and then there goes a timeout. So I go, well, that was just a big waste of a timeout. And then I think later that drive they were set up and they didn't get the playoff, and then they wasted another timeout. So we've talked about the Wisconsin game. They just go down, waste all their time, don't use their timeouts, wait till they get there. And then when they do have them, they just waste them for doing stupid shit. I go, if there's like, what kind of challenge are you wasting trying to get like 2 extra yards to get a first down when you can just get a first down? All you need is 1 more damn yard. I get that, like, it's a 2-minute drill, but it's kind of the same thing. The defense, there was the big muff fumble on the punt, and you're like, oh shit, well now Iowa's going to score a touchdown. Well, then the defense steps up, and then special team steps up and blocks it. So it's like, oh man, good thing we got those 2 phases of the game working. We just need our 1 offensive phase just to do something. And then of course they can't. They got that one big long shot play to Jalen for a touchdown.
Jalen Doss?
Yep.
Yeah, that was a good play.
I was Lloyd.
Oh, it was Jalen Lloyd. Okay,
got the touchdown.
That's right.
And then Alvano got a field goal and he missed a field goal. That's been inconsistent all year.
Yeah, he's really kind of struggled. He was so clutch in high school.
Yeah.
And the championship game, they play at Memorial Stadium, but he just kind of struggled this year. I don't know if it's a little bit of pressure or what, but we'll get a little bit more into it. But remember at the end of the game when Iowa was setting up for their field goal, they kind of ran to the middle of the field and set that guy up in the middle of the field. So maybe Alvano's just feels more comfortable in the middle. I think the hash marks used to be wider in college than they are in high school, but I think now they're about this. I think they're the same, I believe, but I'd have to look into that.
Well, I don't know. I just watch pro football. I feel like they're always kind of like centered, and every time you watch college, there's always like way off to the right or way off to the left.
Well, it just depends because where the hashes are. If the play ends up on that side of the field, they put you on the hash.
Yeah,
and same on the other side, or if you're in the middle, they give you the middle. But,
well, I guess it's like you always say, like college people used to running around outside trying to beat everyone. When the pros, you have to cut more upfield, so maybe that's why it's kind of naturally more centered.
Yeah, what I say is the college kids, they can outrun everybody in college, so then they get the pros and they
try to outrun.
They try to bounce everything outside. Well, in the pros, they ain't going to work, and then you end up losing 2-3 yards because they just string you out, and they can outrun you.
Yeah.
But yeah, just the same old bugaboos. Just bad turnovers. Matt Rhule and his staff do a lot of good work, but their time management needs to be looked at. They really need to look at their time management and their use of timeouts, and just what they want to get accomplished at the end of the game when they have the ball.
Yeah.
But yeah, defense stepped up, played well, like you said. They got that muff. I said, well, they can hold them to a field goal. Well, then they held them and then they blocked the field goal. Well, shit. I said, that's a plus, plus advantage, momentum. And then I didn't see how Iowa scored, field goal and a touchdown. But Nebraska had the big shock play, 10-7, got them back in the game. That's how they went into halftime. Mm-hmm. And then it just kind of a bare knuckle fight the second half. And actually Nebraska outplayed Iowa the second half. They, defense shut them down.
They had like 22 yards.
Yeah, Nebraska outgained them, held them down. Iowa's quarterback looked bad. Their whole offense looked bad. They struggled. And Nebraska's defensive line kind of took over, and the linebackers played real well. And they got it back to 10-10. Alvano finally got a kick. And then Iowa got the ball a couple minutes late, and you thought, a couple minutes left, and you thought, well, can they step up one more time? And then he threw the pick, and you're like, all right. But short-lived prosperity, because on the return, holding penalty.
Because that was like the 40.
Yeah, so it puts him back. And then, a couple short plays don't get you much. And then I'm thinking, wow, do they risk keeping throwing to try to keep moving the ball? Well, they got a couple first downs. They thought, well, okay, they got something going. But they're kind of throwing more stuff to the outside of the hashes marks, and to the receivers and stuff. They weren't really going up the middle. So then the play you mentioned, Purdy drops back, throws it down the middle. I think he was looking for the tight end on a crossing route. Well,
because he looked open.
Yeah, but the linebacker dropped off, and he was standing right there, right in the middle of the field.
Yeah, he just didn't see
with
him.
Nobody around him, and Purdy threw it right to him. I mean, they hit him right in the chest. There's no way the guy couldn't have caught it. And so he ran it back a little ways, maybe like to the 37, 38. And I thought, well, they turned it over, but they're out. If the defense can hold and force a long field goal, they got a shot.
And then 20-yard run.
So then the first play, they just do a handoff up the middle. Missed tackles, breaks through, and he runs for 21 yards, almost the equivalent of what they'd given up that whole second half.
Yeah.
Well, then they're down there, and you're like, oh, shit, 7 seconds left. And I was thinking, well, man, if they would have been thinking, they could maybe let that guy run a few more yards, kind of keep him upright instead of tackling him, and then let the time run out, then kind of pull. Because he wasn't going to – they had like 3 or 4 guys on him, so he wasn't going to break away. But, kind of hold him there and maybe let him kind of go forward a little bit and run the time off. Of course, I don't think people think that way, but I did. And, of course, then he's down, and they stop the clock. They run that little play to center the ball, and then they bring in a brand-new kicker and 38 yards, right? Kicks it, barely gets over the crossbar, and then, they celebrate and go nuts, and a couple guys try to carry this guy off the field and whatever, and it's just another gut punch, kicking the balls for Nebraska. And I heard somebody say today, the Purdy's last play in the last 3 games have all been interceptions. The last play of each game for Jebba Purdy's been an interception. So just the same old bugaboo, and for whatever reason they cannot get over that hump.
Yeah,
and, it's either penalties or turnovers. And defense played great. Special teams were kind of so-so. Buschini punted better. He still had his struggles, but I think he punted better. They pinned Iowa down deep a couple times. But offense just couldn't support the defense, and when they needed the defense to make one more stop, they just couldn't do it. So,
yeah.
So no bowl again for Nebraska. Going the off season, they could, you were hoping they'd get those extra practices. But I guess they just hit the books, hit the blackboards, hit the film, and recruit.
Get a fucking quarterback.
Check the transfer portal. There's been a lot of guys popping up the transfer portal already. Several quarterbacks. You don't know who they're looking at, but
the whole Kansas State offense went in the portal.
Yeah, it's basically like a free agent. It's like NIL basically makes college football free agent frenzy. But we'll see. They'll do something. They'll find their guy, identify him, and what have you going forward. But yeah, just a disappointing season. They got to 5 wins and they had four chances to try to get it, and they just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's at the
frustrating.
It's frustrating, but at the same time, it's like there's a lot of good things, and then it's just always the like you said, the kicking the balls.
Yeah.
Just makes it a lot worse than like.
But
yeah. Yeah, there you go. But all in all, if you told me 5 wins at the beginning of the year, I'd been like, oh, that's pretty good. So, but I think it was a lot better. It was a lot better of a 5 wins, but it was also a lot worse of a 5 wins. I can feel how some people be like, man, this is same old Nebraska. This shit sucks. But then you can also be like, oh, I can see that we're going in the right direction. Defense looks good. But you could say that about that one year with Scott Frost. Man, that defense looks really good as long as the offense could just do something. But even in those games, though, they were like, at least Martinez could move the ball and they would score. This, we can't even get like a touchdown. We'll get 1 and that's it. So I mean, if we get some sort of just decent quarterback play, like we don't even get good quarterback play, nothing decent. They all suck. No offense.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't feel like any of those teams except maybe Wisconsin was better than Nebraska. I actually thought Nebraska looked better than Iowa, but it's just Iowa's MO. They just hang around, and then like somebody said the other day on the radio, they said, well, they probably were saying, just hang with it. Nebraska's going to make a mistake and give us a chance to win the game. So just keep playing. Yeah. And then it happened. So, I mean, once you kind of get that reputation out there, it just, people are going to know, and they're going to scheme for it that, they put some pressure on you. You're going to turn the ball over.
Well, all I'll say is this is going to be one of the worst Big Ten championship games ever.
Well, you would think so. Michigan on paper looks pretty tough compared to Iowa. So, but I mean, Michigan struggled a little bit with Maryland, so you'll see. I mean, the Frances are going out. This to be the last Big Ten game, or at least the son, Brian. So we'll see what they have, and who knows about Kirk. But yeah, overall frustrating season. I mean, like you said, if you would have started at the start, we said 5-7. That'd have been well. I would like to see 6-6, but if they go 5-7 and play well, then. Yeah, but it's just, you think back on the Minnesota loss, that really, really sticks in your craw now. You think, man, they could have had that. And these last 4 games, just.
They could have had all of them.
Yeah.
They could have been 10 and something.
Yeah, it's just, the Michigan game was the one they just never had a chance. And
then the Colorado one, they didn't really.
Well, the Colorado, yeah. I mean, they held for the first half, and then they just kind of got overwhelmed. But that's a tougher environment. Coach Prime, his first home game.
Yeah.
You knew that was gonna be hard, but
they're losing a lot of
a lot
commits now.
A lot of nice things going forward, I think, and hopefully we'll see some stuff happening down the road here and big changes. Ty Robinson decided to stick around. Nash Hutchmaker's sticking around, so a lot of their starting defensive linemen are all gonna be back. So
did you see they didn't make like a all Big Ten defense?
They never do.
Which is they're saying does like something more better than those two?
Well, and this is what you want, I'd say. Nebraska's defense as a unit is probably all Big Ten, but individually, no. But I mean, that's what you want. You want a strong team. I mean, you can have a leader. Nash and Ty Robinson both should have been probably considered for all Big Ten, but. You have Ohio State and Michigan with their big 5-star defensive linemen and whatever. It just, people default to those teams right off the bat sometimes, I think. And but I mean, it's not about awards or accolades. I mean, it's about wins and losses. And unfortunately, we're done for 2023. So
it's okay. I like the direction we're going.
Yeah,
just some sort of decent quarterback. Please come.
There you go.
We would love to have you. You'll be like our god.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do with Chuba and Harburg going forward. Sims is gone for sure, but
Harburg can go wherever he pleases.
A couple side notes on the Huskers. Tony White has interviewed for the San Diego State job, along with the Navy coach and a couple other. I think I saw Florida's offensive coordinator and a couple other people. But then I wrote that note down yesterday, and then I saw today that maybe he's not quite in the running anymore. I haven't heard it officially, but sounds like they might be heading in another direction as far as he goes.
That's fine. We'll love to keep him.
And then remember last week, one of the quotes that I had mentioned that you hadn't gotten in your 24/7 report was Coach Rhule said recruits were calling him saying they wanted to come there. Well, just about 15 minutes before we went on to record here, Grant Bricks, the big 4-star offensive lineman at Logan Magnolia over in Iowa, committed to the Huskers. He's a 4-star. He's 6'6", 270 pounds.
Big boy.
And he picked Oklahoma over Kansas State. And Grant Bricks was kind of known around here because what Nebraska did is they took their big semi they used to haul to different, to the road games. They parked it in a field across from his high school. And so he could see it all the time. Well, it was funny, his commitment video, they show him, he comes out and he's walking. He's like his Letterman jacket on, and he's wearing boots, I think. And then you see him climb up into something, which you assume is a big rig. And then it starts driving, then they pan out, and he's actually driving the Nebraska semi that was parked out front of the school. So kind of a cool take on his commitment video, because all these big commitments put out a little commitment video or whatever. But
yeah,
I've seen Summer Services said he's a top 100 player, and one had him as the number 2 guard, high school ranked guard in the country. So big get from Nebraska is, the big guys are hard to find, and so you definitely need them, offense and defense. So big commit for the Huskers, and hopefully they'll continue for the next few weeks. I mean, signing days in February. Well, they have an early signing period here in December in a couple weeks, and I think they have another one later in February. But most kids, I think, sign in the early period nowadays. So, yeah. So they're just watching for maybe some JUCOs or transfer portal. That's the thing with the transfer portal guys. The JUCO guys kind of get lost in the shuffle because you have Power 5 talent, but just because of they don't make their grades or whatever, they have to go to a JUCO. So there's some talent in those places too. So I expect Matt Rhule and his staff to, look under every rock and look in every nook and cranny to find talent.
Nook and crannies.
Yeah.
Every crook and every granny.
Yeah. So that's it on the Husker season. So
well, big disappointment.
Yeah.
But big excitement at the same time.
Yeah. Now I was in Missouri over the weekend for a wedding. My cousin's son, Drew, and his fiance Katie got married. And
congratulations.
Props to them, yeah. And then his brother Kane was there, and we were talking, and in passing, he goes, "I listened to your podcast." And I was like, "Oh, well, thanks." So I want to shout out Kane, tell him thanks for listening, and
keep listening.
He's going to be a father soon.
Ooh.
So had a good chance to talk to him. I talked to his girlfriend Danielle. So good times, and props to them. But I had mentioned to them that I hadn't realized that Missouri was ranked in the top 10. And I guess they kind of under the radar for me. So I just did some digging into the Missouri Tigers, and just wanted to kind of give them some background on them and talk about the Missouri Tigers a little bit.
The Mizzou shout out.
Yeah, they're coached by Eli Drinkwitz. This is his 4th season. He was previously the coach at Appalachian State. They are 10-2 currently, 6-2 in the conference, and they sit second in the SEC East. Now they beat Florida, and they've beaten Tennessee, and they beat Tennessee handily. And their 2 losses are to Georgia, 21-30, and to LSU, 39-49. So even their 2 losses against 2 of the top teams in the country, they've been very competitive. They're led on offense by quarterback Brody Cook. He had just under 3,200 yards passing with 20 touchdowns and only 6 interceptions. Nebraska, take notes. They're led on the ground by Cody Schrader. He's just under 1,500 yards rushing with 13 touchdowns, and that comes out to a 6.1 yard per carry average, which is very good. Their top receiver is Luther Burden. He's got 83 catches for just under 1,200 yards with 8 touchdowns. And they're led on defense by defensive lineman Darius Robinson with 7 sacks, and then DB Chris Abrams Drain, I think it's pronounced Draine, and he's got 4 interceptions. Missouri, when Missouri first said they were going to the SEC, I thought, well, I don't know if they can compete and hang in the SEC. That's the elite of the elite. But Coach Drinkwitz has done a good job. They have a good, strong recruiting base. The Kansas City and St. Louis areas are strong for turning out, D1 prospects. And I know Nebraska's trying to get back into those places and get a foothold. They've been able to get a couple guys out of there here and there. But, props to Missouri. They're not going to be able to make the SEC title game. It's going to be Alabama and Georgia, of course. But they, if they can win next game or two, they could make the New Year's Six bowls possibly, depending on how things shake out. So just props to Missouri, the Tigers. I mean, like I said, when they went to the SEC, I was kind of worried about them, whether they could compete with the big boys. But excuse me, a few of the SEC programs are down a little bit, but Missouri's doing what they have to do to win, and they're hanging in there. Even when they're losing, they're playing strong games. So, Coach Drinkwitz has them heading in the right direction, and continued success to Missouri Tigers. And a lot of my family are big fans of Missouri, and I can remember back when they were in the Big Eight with Nebraska, when they played every year, and if Missouri would win, my Uncle Benny would call my dad, and they'd talk for a while. But so, I'd be watching the game, and then Nebraska would lose. I'd be like, and then the phone would ring. I go, well, I know who that is. So, any takes on the Missouri Tigers and what they've done in the SEC? I mean, I know you probably didn't have a whole lot of expectations for them either when they went to the powerhouse conference of conferences.
The powerhouse conference of conferences. Well, I will give a nice shout out to the Missouri Tigers, but to be honest, I didn't watch any Missouri Tiger football, so.
Well, it's not about watching. I mean, but when you think of Missouri and the SEC, that's you don't think of them. You got, like I said, Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, LSU, Ole Miss, Auburn. And the only teams rated ahead of them right now are Alabama and Georgia. I mean, they have the same record as LSU, even though they lost LSU. But I mean, and like I said, they're really competitive. And they got talent. They got really good talent. So. Be surprised. I just didn't realize, I knew they had been playing pretty well. I just didn't realize in their top 10, and they just beat Arkansas, their border rival, this week. So I wouldn't be surprised if they moved up a little bit even more because Ohio State lost. So I know they're going to drop some. So maybe they fall behind Missouri or not. I don't know. But just shout out the Mizzou Tigers, Mizzou. So props to Missouri. And Kane, if you're listening, I know that you're a fan of that team, so good for you, buddy. And we do appreciate you listening. Stay safe out there in the fields and on the gravel roads out there.
Number 9, Missouri Tigers. Ole Miss is 12.
So that's all I had for football. Do you have anything else in the baseball realm or basketball realm? I know you said something about you wanted to talk about one of the teams earlier. Was that basketball or the NFL? I can't remember what you said.
Well, I was saying in the NFL, we can kind of look over the teams that are still technically in the playoff hunt and see what their chances are.
Okay.
But
I
didn't really have a whole lot to go in, so I was kind of like,
we'll keep an eye on that, and as the college football playoff kind of starts evolving, we'll keep an eye on that as well and see how that shakes out, and we'll give our predictions on that going forward as well.
Yeah. Speaking of that, do you think Ohio State deserves any consideration for making it?
Not right now. But it just depends on what happens in the title games. But it'll be interesting because it could come down to whether or not they pick Texas or Alabama. Even though Texas beat Alabama head-to-head, Alabama's only got one loss, and that's to Texas, where Texas has lost twice. So it'll be interesting to see.
Because the AP came out, and they're going to be behind Florida State and Oregon. But Florida State, Washington, Michigan, and Georgia are the top 4. They're all undefeated.
Where's Missouri at in there?
They're 9.
9? Okay.
Yeah.
What's the top 10?
Georgia's 1.
Okay.
Michigan's 2. Washington's 3. Florida State's 4. Then it's Oregon, Ohio State, Texas, Alabama, Missouri, and then Penn State's 10. And they are Ole Miss and Oklahoma's right behind them, all 10 and 2.
Well, I'd say realistically, maybe only the top 6 ones have a shot to really even play in it.
How is Iowa 18? They suck. It's because of their record. But God, we could. Imagine that's our top 25 win. We'd be shitty ass Iowa.
Yeah, it's interesting.
We need to beat someone ranked again. God dang it. But anyways, I mean, I don't know. We can talk about some football teams, but I wasn't really paying a whole lot of attention to football on Sunday. I did watch the Bills and the Eagles game, though. That was a pretty good game.
Well, I missed most of the football action because we got back into town probably around 2:00, and we went right to Costco because I had to buy some stuff. I did catch like the last few minutes of the Steeler game on the YouTube app, but
yeah,
I didn't see much football. I was busy most of that day.
Well, the Steelers ended up winning again.
Yeah.
Which, no offense to the Steelers, they kind of remind me of Nebraska a little bit. But Green Bay was looking a little bit like Nebraska there for a while, too, with Jordan Love. They just couldn't get nothing going. But, so, technically in the AFC, let's look. The 3 wild cards, the Steelers are the top wild card at 7-4. And then the Browns are also 7-4, even though they're a little shaky now because they don't have a starting quarterback. And then the Colts are the last one with 6-5. But now Jonathan Taylor's going to be out for 2 to 3 weeks because of a thumb.
Yeah.
Which pissed me off because I have him on one of my fantasy teams. But right behind him are
there's our fantasy team.
Yeah, there you go. But right behind them are the Texans. First out, the Broncos 6-5 after going 1-5, won 5 in a row. And then the Bills are 6-6. So, but the Bills are the best, probably 6-6 team in the league. But Josh Allen, inconsistent play, turnovers really costing them. They lost to the Patriots for crying out loud. They can't even score. Have you seen those Mac Jones highlights? He looks awful.
Well, they don't really have another option behind him, really.
Poor Bailey Zappe's like, let me in.
Yeah.
He goes, this guy sucks. He goes, if you can't get in over Mac Jones, then you're really struggling. But poor Mac Jones, he's going to get booted out of town. So yeah. But anyways, those are kind of the 3 teams because the Bengals are right there at 5-6, but Joe Burrow is gone for the year. So
yeah, the whole AFC North kind of has a shot at it right now, which is kind of ironic. You wouldn't think that at the beginning of the year, but
Raiders got a backup quarterback going.
Yeah,
Chargers is kind of
they're a mess. They just
Brandon Staley. I told you he sucks.
And Eckler doesn't look right. I don't think he's totally healthy, and Herbert hasn't played the best, and it's just.
So it's going to be interesting for that wild card because I think the Texans seem pretty good right now.
Yeah,
because the Colts. I mean, they still got Gardner Minshew. They're 6-5, but they've won 3 in a row. But are they really contenders? I'd put the Texans above them. The Broncos could maybe make it. It just kind of depends if the Steelers' defense can hold up, keep winning some games. I don't know what their schedule's like, though, is the thing.
It's not super tough. They have Arizona this week. But I will say the running game looked a little bit better this week, which is a positive. So
I could talk about, like I said, fantasy again. Najee Harris didn't do nothing. I traded him. He scores every week now.
Well, I think most people probably don't really want to listen to our fantasies.
But no, I'm just saying, like in general, like he didn't do nothing. Now he's just kind of picked up. Najee Harris leads.
Well, they kind of been sharing time with Jaylen Warren, and Jaylen Warren didn't really have the best game, and then he had a fumble. And Najee ran tough. Did you see that one where he ran the ball into that pack? And they just were just moving just a little bit. And all of a sudden he popped out the other side and he carried about 3 guys for like another 12 yards. It was a really impressive run. So
I think he goes underrated because he's been behind that offensive line for so long.
And then he got criticized. I know Big Ben criticized him on his podcast, what do you call it? Footballing or something like that, BAHLIN. But you know how Najee likes to try to jump over guys. Well, sometimes he was trying to. This one time he tried to jump over a guy. And he kind of got pushed out of bounds in the air, so he didn't get the first down. And Big Ben was critical of him. He says, well, just drop your shoulder and run over the guy. You're like 6'1", 250, and this guy's like 5'11", 185 trying to tackle you. Just run over the guy.
Well, sometimes in the moment, too, I don't think they really – you just run and you kind of just do what seems right.
Yeah.
You're not thinking, well, I should lower my shoulder and run over this guy for the first down. Sometimes you're like, oh, I can jump over this guy. Whoop.
Yeah.
So, and then the NFC, I think the Eagles are probably set. I know people want to say the Cowboys still have a chance in the division. Well, but I think the Eagles are.
Sorry to interrupt, but the Eagles will probably just beat the 2 best teams in the AFC back-to-back weeks with the Chiefs and the Bills.
Well, you could argue the Chiefs had a chance if MVS didn't drop that ball.
Well, yes.
But that's probably. I don't want to say that's looking like the Super Bowl favorite again, but it's looking pretty good. The 49ers are right there, 8-3. They had that weird 3-game scuffle without Debo.
Purdy had that. We think had a concussion, which probably went undiagnosed the first game, and that caused him maybe to throw his interceptions.
The Lions are right there, 8-3. You know, they just had a weird loss to the Packers. The Falcons are technically the 4th seed, but the Saints were kind of underdog favorites to be competitive, but they've looked like a mess. Well, Derek Carr was hurt, and then he's back, and then he doesn't look good. So the wild card, I think the Cowboys or the Eagles are going to be set number 1, obviously. But then it's the Seahawks, who haven't looked good lately. Geno Smith's been injured or hurt. Kenneth Walker's hurt now. And then the Vikings, Josh Dobbs looked like Superman for about 2 games. He's looked really bad the last 2 weeks. He had like 4 picks against the Bears. So, and then they end up losing that game on the Bears kicked 4 field goals and won the game 12-10. That's an Iowa game right there. So then right behind them are the Packers, who all of a sudden won 2 in a row. They were 3-6, now they're 5-6. The Rams are there. Is Stafford back healthy playing?
Yep.
So they could be competitive, especially.
Yeah, Cooper Kupp's a little wonky.
Yeah, and the defense has been a little wonky lately too. The Saints are there, even though Saints haven't looked good lately. The Bucks are there, and then I wouldn't really say the Giants, the Bears, the Commanders, the Cardinals, or the Panthers have much of a chance. So I hate bringing up my team, Dad, but the Packers may have a chance to sneak in there, the 3rd seed.
Oh, I don't think you hate bringing up your team at all.
Well, I don't, but I know we tend to not want to do it. But the Packers may have a chance, especially if Jordan Love keeps playing the way he's been playing. The Rams could sneak in there too, because the Vikings, I don't know what their schedule looks like. They're on a bye, then they had played the Raiders, the Bengals, the Lions, the Packers, and then the Lions again. So I mean, they could sneak against the Raiders, the Bengals. And if the Packers aren't playing as well as they should, you never know there. But then the Seahawks, I think, have a really tough schedule. Because they have to play the Cowboys, then they have to play the 49ers, then they have to play the Eagles, then they have to play the Titans and the Steelers and the Cardinals, which is not as strong. But that could be 3 more losses for the Seahawks coming up. And then the Packers have to play the Chiefs. But then after that, they just have the Giants, they have the Bucks, they have the Panthers, they have the Vikings, then they have the Bears. So realistically, they could go 5-1 those last.
Yeah, well, Jordan, like you said, Jordan Love's playing much better. He's seeing the field, and he's getting some time. And it doesn't hurt that Christian Watson's back healthy now, and he's like their big play receiver. And you talk about Thanksgiving. He had like the first 3 or 4 catches, and he went up and got the ball, and he was just going out and saying, "This is my ball. I'm getting it." And Detroit had a hard time stopping him.
Yeah, especially because Aaron Jones was out. So
yeah,
I think they're using their playmakers more. Jaden Reed's getting a lot of balls on sweeps because he's fast. You could tell.
And then I can't think of his name. That 3rd back they have now behind AJ Dillon.
Well, Patrick
Sharp. Is that his name?
Patrick Taylor?
Taylor, yeah.
Because he actually wasn't even the 3rd back. It was another guy. I can't even think of his name right now. Against who the hell did they just play before that? No, against the Chargers. And then he got hurt too and got carted off. So then they just signed him from their practice squad. And he looked really good. Mm-hmm. But even if Green Bay doesn't do anything, I really like the youth. They have a lot of young receivers. They're all 1st or 2nd years. And they all show glimpses. Romeo Dobbs looks good at times. Jaden Reed looks really good. Christian Watson, I know people kind of expect him to be that number 1. I don't know if he'll necessarily ever be a number 1. But with those his speed, he could be that deep threat kind of MVS.
Well, he'll be number 1 for the Packers.
Well, yeah, but for now.
Yeah.
It would have been nice if they brought in like a veteran receiver to kind of.
Well, I mean, your definition number 1, I mean, it depends on your offense. Some offenses are designed to get certain players the ball, where, Green Bay, I don't think necessarily they're designed to get Christian Watson the ball. They're designed to get somebody open. And, but he's tall enough, or if you need a jump ball pass or a 50-50 ball, as they call him, he's the guy you're going to throw to.
Yeah, and that's the thing. He wasn't really doing that for most of the year.
Well, he hadn't been totally healthy either. So.
Well, that's been his thing for most of his career. He hasn't been too healthy.
And then I know I can remember when he was drafted, you were like, what the hell? I don't even know who that guy is, or I don't think he's that good. But Rashawn Gary is really, really developed the last several years.
Yes,
and he's a defensive force for the Packers nowadays.
Well, that was kind of weird because they had a big log jam at the edge. So it's like, why do you draft? Because that's the weird thing about Brian Gutekunst, the general manager. He sees talent, and he drafts them even when it doesn't. Because like when Raheem Mostert went wild against us, his first pick was Jordan Love. And then he took a 3rd-string running back in A.J. Dillon. You're like, what the hell is he doing? And then he took, like, Josiah DeGuara, who's, like, our fullback tight end. So it's just kind of like what you're doing. But he sees guys, and I think he looks more at the talent than what the team necessarily needs, which is where people kind of get up in arms about him. But because even I said Jordan Love pick was stupid because you're 1 win away from getting to the Super Bowl that we haven't been to in forever, and you can't get one guy to stop the freaking run, and they still struggle to stop the run. So, but he's going to make me eat my words if Jordan Love ends up being pretty good. And Green Bay had plenty of chances those next 2 years to do something.
It's trending in the right direction, so you'll be a big cheese eater.
Well, we'll see how the rest of the season goes, but if Jordan Love keeps playing like this, they're definitely going to re-sign him.
It's either going to be cheddar or you're going to get yourself some Limburger.
Yeah. But it just makes the Steeler game kind of hurt more because they probably had a chance to win that one.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, but because did you see there was a stat about Kenny Pickett? They said since week 4 of last year, Tom Brady still has more passing touchdowns than Kenny Pickett.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't. I was kind of hoping that Kenny would develop, but he just kind of seems like he is what he is, and we'll see. You know, they fired Matt Canada, and which was what a lot of people wanted, and they finally did it. They're kind of sharing their offensive coordinator duties with the running back coach and the tight end coach, but we'll have to kind of see what develops there and who they end up hiring, and I don't know. It'll be interesting. Do they hire somebody to work specifically with Kenny Pickett and try to develop him more, or do they use their draft capital to try to find somebody, or do they go free agent route? I've heard him linked to Kyler Murray several times, but I'm like, he's not going to fit there. He's not this style of quarterback they need in that offense. So, plus he's kind of short, so I don't really like. I like quarterbacks a little bit taller stature.
Yeah,
but
Kyler Murray, he's very inconsistent, but
yeah,
when he's good, he looks good. But
he's just a threat to break the pocket and scramble. So, but problem is he's, like I said, he's not a big guy. So if he gets gets a clean shot on him, he's not gonna.
He can sling it though.
He can.
Yeah. So. Yeah, but then did you see Kenny Pickett say, "Well, I don't know what else they kind of expect us to change. We're already 11 games into the year. It's probably going to be pretty." Similar.
You kind of have your MO of it's kind of. I told the guy at work, I said, watching Steelers is watching Nebraska again on Sundays. Really good defense, and the offense is like, oh, woe is me.
Yeah, that's why I said they're kind of like Nebraska.
Yeah,
but at least their record's a lot better
so far.
Yeah, but yeah, that's always kind of the weird thing. Oh, we got to fire this coach. Oh, it would be so much better without him. But then you spent the all of training camp developing the system. You spent 10 games doing it. You're not just gonna. Oh, let's just learn something else. 6 games left in the year. You can implement certain things, but your whole stature and your whole kind of dynamic of how you go about things, I think, is pretty much kind of set in stone.
Well, some teams will just like Carolina's doing. They're like, well, we're not having the season we want, so let's make some changes now and spend the last few weeks of the season, trying some new things.
Yes.
Putting some new players in, giving some other players a chance, and sometimes you see some teams catch a little bit of fire at the end of the year just because, they got a new mindset and they got some new blood in there and guys coming out there wanting to prove themselves and, got something to play for. You're playing for a job, and a paycheck. So,
but does that translate to immediate success? I don't think so. I think people expect it to be.
It's development.
Yes.
And we're, like I said, we're talking about teams that are below 500 and probably don't really have a realistic chance at making the playoffs. So.
Well, do you remember those teams I said in the AFC? Do you think anyone would do you think the Bills would get in over a Browns or a Steelers?
Well, Allen's still shaky at quarterback. He still turns the ball over too much. And I don't think the Bills defense is strong enough right now.
Not as good as it was 3 years ago.
Miami's got the offense, but do they have the defense? I mean, if Miami can keep scoring the ball, they're going to be hard to beat just because of that fact. But if you get a team that can shut down their offense, then But I mean, right now you still have to lean the Chiefs. I mean, the Chiefs have to be the favorite just because of the talent they have and stuff. I mean, their defense has struggled a little bit, but usually you get down to the grind of it and the cold weather, and they tend to step up. Somebody on that defense will step up and make a play here or there. Nick Bolton or Jadarius Sneed or somebody will just kind of make a play that turns the tide of the game for him. So.
Well, I guess I just meant more of the last few spots. I didn't mean
Oh, so yeah, it's hard. It's hard to say. I mean, there's so much ahead, and if somebody a pivotal player gets injured, that will change the whole dynamic. Like you mentioned, Joe Burrow earlier. So
very, very political answer. I appreciate it.
I am not a crook.
Okay, there you go, Nixon.
Thank you, very.
All right, well, that's enough football talk
Okay,
until the Packers make the playoffs.
sounds good.
Even though I had them winning the division after week 1. And then I said, this is a dumpster fire, week 6.
You're unrealistic reality.
I'm realistic. I just have my...
You're a cult of
My
personality.
Oh, don't get me started.
All right.
I'll talk about CM Punk for 2 hours.
Hey, let's I got a couple nuggets, and I'm sure it looks like you do.
Oh, I do have some nuggets. I came up with them.
Let's hop into the local McDonald's. I mean the capsule, and fire up the boosters. What's your first nugget, Nathan? What you got there, brother?
All right, well, I didn't have any going
My
into
favorite
this.
side dish. Home slice.
Please stop. All right, well, I didn't have any going into
pie.
this, so I came up
Oh,
with
speaking
some.
of that, I forgot to tell you, I had a piece of pumpkin pie in the refrigerator for you.
Was
Did
it
you
good?
find it? No, I didn't eat it. I don't like pumpkin pie.
Oh, okay, I get what you're saying.
It
No,
was
I didn't.
given to me for you, and I forgot to tell you it was in there.
No, I didn't go looking for food.
Yeah,
I did take a Mountain Dew though.
Oh.
Sorry, Teresa. But
that's all right.
my first nugget, because I struggled to come up with something, but then I did remember I did have one and I wrote it down.
Ooh.
But I'll go with the kind of last minute one. Mark Cuban just sold a majority stake in the Dallas Mavericks, and then I only thought of that because he also said he's going to leave Shark Tank after this season. I think
That's too bad.
after like 17 seasons he's leaving.
Who did he share his majority stake to?
I don't remember, but he sold it for $3.5 billion,
Whoa.
and he purchased the Mavs in 2000 for $285 million. So there's a reason why he's a shark. It was some group. I don't remember who it was.
Like a TV conglomerate or something like that?
I don't know. Well, I'll find it here in a sec.
Okay, well, while you're looking, I'll do my first nugget. My nuggets are a couple of baseball signings. The St. Louis Cardinals have signed pitcher Sonny Gray from the Twins, and they signed him for $75 million for 3 seasons.
Ooh.
So he pitched pretty well for the Twins last year, and now he's a St. Louis Cardinal.
I did see that.
Switching leagues, so we'll see. Because I think this is the first time he's ever pitched in the National League, right? Because he was he an A before that?
He was with the A's.
Yeah. So I think this is his first time in the National League. So we'll see how that.
Was he with the?
But it's not as big a leap anymore as it used to be because now everybody has the universal DH. So
I want to say he was in the National League. Maybe I'm thinking of someone else.
okay.
No, yeah, it was with the A's. He was with the Reds.
Oh, well, okay. Well, then he has pitched in the National League. So
For some reason, I was thinking the
never
Dodgers. But that was
mind.
he was with Oakland, and he got traded to the Yankees.
All right.
And he was with the Reds.
Did you look up the information on what you were looking for?
Yeah, Mark Cuban. He sold it to Miriam Adelson. He's a casino tycoon.
Oh.
And it's one of the most unique setups in NBA history, says Shams Charania. Because Cuban still gets shares, and he's still in control of basketball operations. So someone says he just still gets to play with the team and not have to worry about all the money.
Nice.
So shout out him.
Okay.
But now that I looked that up, I got rid of the other stat that I had.
About.
Okay, so they had Jordan Love stats and Aaron Rodgers stats for the first 8 games of their career as a
Aaron
starter.
Rodgers only played a couple series this year.
No, okay. You're annoying. I got to find the article it was
Mission
on. It may have
accomplished.
been this one. Okay, so this was Aaron Rodgers' first 11 games.
Is this your second nugget?
Yes, this is my second nugget.
Okay.
Sorry, I'll say it. This is Aaron Rodgers through 11 games in 2008, and then this is Jordan Love's through 11 games in 2023.
Okay.
Would you like to hear? They both had a 5-6 record. They both had 21 total touchdowns.
Oh.
Aaron Rodgers had 9 interceptions. Jordan Love has 10. Aaron Rodgers had 17 passing touchdowns, and Jordan Love has 19. And they both had 2,599 passing yards exactly.
Wow.
So, if
Got
that gives,
bust written all over him.
so if that has some hope for people, I just thought it was kind of cool looking at it.
Yeah.
They have the exact same passing yards through 11 games and the same record. So,
All right. My next nugget is the Tigers signed pitcher Kenton Maeda, gave him $24 million for 2 years. So he's been a pretty successful pitcher. He pitched with the Dodgers most recently, I think.
I thought he was with the Twins too.
Or was he with the Twins too?
I think the Twins signed him.
Oh, maybe that's why I was thinking.
He was with the Dodgers though.
Yeah, okay. Well, the Twins' staff's been decimated here in the first couple of days.
Yeah, he was just with the Twins.
Yeah. And we're still on Shohei Ohtani watch. I know there was this thing on X where they showed him in all these different hats, and you either tap it. I think you take a screenshot.
And then whatever.
Well, I did it, and I got the Blue Jays, Toronto Blue Jays. So I'm like, well, they said he's a suitor. But then I saw something today on Instagram that says the Cubs are planning on making a big offer.
It was like the Dodgers, the Cubs. I think the Giants really want
probably
him too.
The Red Sox. Probably all the big market teams.
Well, they said the Red Sox are interested, but I don't think he'll go there. I wish he would, but.
For sure.
And then there's that big Japanese pitcher, too, that's going to be.
Yeah.
He could
be posted.
Yeah,
yep.
He may be a Red Sox target. They need. The Red Sox guy said, Craig Breslow said they definitely need some starting pitching. Fuck, they need some bullpen help, too, Jesus.
Yeah.
So, well, that's all the nuggets I had.
All right. Well, we appreciate you joining us on this post-Thanksgiving episode. Please follow us on all the socials, your fintentionspod on the X. You can find us on all your streaming services, but Apple. Did you get your Apple IP address thing ever worked out?
No, screw Apple.
Okay.
They say put your email in, and when I do, they say put your Apple ID in, and then they say your Apple ID is your email. And it's like, you sons of bitches.
So, well, anyway, we appreciate you listening on any apps or devices or streaming services that you do. Please feel free to reach out, comment, like, share, help us get the word out there. We have fun putting this little show together, and we want you to be a part of it. We appreciate you listening.
Listen, you bastards.
Just got hit with Black Friday and Cyber Monday, so my parcel deliveries are going to go way up the next couple of days, for the next few weeks actually. So be safe, be smart. A lot of fraud this time of year, so just be diligent. Buy directly from the retailers. Don't go to some website online that you're not sure is them. If you get an email, check the email address. Make sure it's not coming from some hokey place or, some random person. Just be diligent this time of year, because a lot of people are out there trying to get your money. So be careful, be safe, and we'll talk to you next week.
Yeah, hover over those links, because if you hover over the link and it says like scam malware, that's usually not a good sign.
There you go.
So
that's your tidbit. Oh, one last tidbit. If you have the squeeze ketchup bottles, I saw online, don't squeeze it from the front and back, squeeze it from the sides, and it'll flow more freely and faster. So that's a tip from us here at Fast Intentions to get your ketchup game right.
Who said that?
I saw it on TikTok. So
don't blame if it doesn't work. Blame TikTok. Please don't blame us.
Life hack here from Fast Intentions. So appreciate you listening once again, and for me and Nathan, peace
out.